Who was the real Santa Claus? Welcome to Bite-Sized History. This week we'll be exploring the history of Santa Claus, the beloved cultural figure many of us associate with Christmas. Today we know Santa Claus is a jolly, white-bearded old gentleman from the North Pole who rides around the world on a sleigh every December 25th, dropping off presents beneath our Christmas trees. But where did this story come from? As it turns out, modern-day Santa Claus is a complex pastiche of a few historical real-life figures and cultural traditions, all coming together to form the character that we know and love today. So who are some of the different figures that make up the history of Santa Claus? Let's start with Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas was a Greek Christian bishop living in the 3rd and 4th centuries CE. While St. Nicholas was Greek, he lived in the Roman Empire in a region that we'd now consider to be modern-day Turkey. Amongst other things, St. Nicholas is the patron saint of children. The practices surrounding St. Nicholas's feast day create clear connections to modern-day Santa. His Saint's Day is celebrated around the world on various days in December, most often December 6th, placing him squarely in the Yuletide season. There's often an element of gift-giving to his feast day, going back at least to the medieval era and continuing to this very day. Once you know that St. Nicholas was a patron saint of children who gives out gifts every December, the through line to Santa Claus becomes quite clear. But the St. Nicholas-Santa Claus connection goes even deeper. Which brings us to Sinterklaas, the second figure in the complex puzzle that formed modern-day Santa Claus. Sinterklaas is a character celebrated in Dutch and Belgian tradition. Crucially, Sinterklaas is based on the real-life figure of Saint Nicholas, and the feast of Sinterklaas is celebrated on December 6th, Saint Nicholas's Saint's Day. Starting in the medieval era, people began to celebrate Sinterklaas on December 6th by throwing feasts for the poor and slipping money into their shoes. By the 1800s, this tradition of gift-giving had expanded to involve children, and we start to see depictions of Sinterklaas delivering presents, not just via shoes, but also by boat and by chimney. Going back to the 16th century, we can find images of Sinterklaas wearing a red cape and bishop's hat. Through the next 200 years, his portrayal began to include a snow-white beard. A kind man with a white beard and red outfit who gives gifts to children via the chimney? Sounds familiar. But something interesting and crucial to the Santa Claus legend happened with Sinterklaas during the 16th and 17th centuries CE. This time was a period of massive religious upheaval in Europe as the Protestant Reformation began to clash with the Catholic Church. In order to separate themselves from Catholics, Protestant reformers started to adapt and change cultural traditions that had strong ties to the Catholic Church. Sinterklaas, with his clear connection to Catholic St. Nicholas, was one such tradition. Rather than dispensing with gift-giving entirely, however, the Protestants formed a related tradition, and they began to celebrate Christkindl, the Christ child, with presents on the 25th of December. You'll note that basically all of the figures that we've talked about so far are clearly connected to Santa Claus by name. We often casually call Santa Saint Nick. Christkindl turned into Kriss Kringle, and Sinterklaas is just a few consonants away from sounding just like Santa Claus. And that brings us to our final Santa Claus predecessor, Father Christmas. Of course, we often still refer to Santa Claus as Father Christmas to this day, but his origins predate Santa Claus by a few hundred years. Once again, we can trace this tradition to religious upheaval in Europe, specifically in England. In the 17th century, after England had already gone through a religious reformation and officially parted ways with the Catholic Church, some Protestants felt that the country hadn't done enough to separate themselves from Catholic traditions. This led to a ban on Christmas from around 1644 to 1660 CE. This ban was met with plenty of public outcry, and the character Father Christmas was born as a symbol to personify the holiday. Father Christmas was depicted in pamphlets written by people on both sides of the Christmas debate, typically shown as an older man with a white beard. To some, he was a merrymaker and joy-bringer. To others, he was a symbol of Catholic excesses. In 1660, during the Restoration, the celebration of Christmas was permitted in England once again. Even though the debate was over, Father Christmas remained a symbol for the holiday, bringing cheer and good food and drink wherever he went. By the 1800s in the United States, these figures of St. Nicholas, Sinterklaas, Christkindl, and Father Christmas had meshed together to form Santa Claus. Mentions of Santa Claus began popping up across the country, appearing in newspaper articles, children's books, and cartoons. Soon, Santa Claus was fully rooted in the American cultural tradition, and by the end of the 19th century, the jolly old bearded gentleman with his reindeer, sleigh, red outfit, and generous gifts was here to stay. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Bite Size History. To be notified of future episodes, please subscribe. Comment down below to let us know what historical topic you'd like us to cover next. Until next time.